Okay, good afternoon from Atlanta and wherever we are in the rest of the world. It's 12 o'clock Eastern here on the East Coast. My name is Scott Lee. I'm with Terrago and I manage the federal business. I also have another colleague on the line, Joe Abuela, who helps us. We work together side by side to make sure that we keep our customers happy and get feedback. And so without further ado, we wanted to follow up on the DGI conference that was held a couple of months ago over in London. We had a lot of people stop by our booth and asked a lot of very good questions. And we've got a lot of follow-up interest in the technology. So we wanted to extend just a quick review of what we talked about during the DGI conference. And I'm going to try to be cognizant of everyone's time and just keep this brief. I only have about 5 or 6 slides really to run through, and then I just want to get into the meat of the presentation, which is the demonstration of the technology and what Terrago provisions inside of the ArcGIS Pro environment primarily thing. Again, I'm Scott Lee. I'm located in Atlanta. Joe works remotely as well out of North Carolina. And feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have any questions. Just a couple of housekeeping items. In the Zoom session, there's a Q&A. Everyone's been muted, but there's a Q&A option right here. There's also a chat function, and I have those up on my other monitor, and will do my best to monitor those questions and get those answers to you. Just a quick overview. Terrago invented the GeoPDF technology back in 2005, so working on quite a long history here. We were founded here in Atlanta, but now we have our corporate offices in Sterling, Virginia, where the majority of our customers are actually located in the DoD and the intelligence community here domestically. Started from we've kind of gone full circle. The initial purpose was to be able to get this complex data, these maps, out to the field, and then we figured out how to encode the geospatial information inside of the PDF. Subsequently applied for a patent that was awarded back in 2010, I believe, but we have opened up some of the technology to other organizations just because of the proliferation of the technology. We wanted to make sure that it was available. It was subsequently adopted as an OTC best practice. But it's not just being able to get the data out to the field or to someone who doesn't have a GIS or a remote sensing system. It's also enabling, the key capability is enabling that end user to actually add their own content to the product. And when they add their own content to that product, all of the information that's collected on their laptop or on their device maintains the spatial integrity. So I said, initially, it was designed to go out to actually utility workers. It's kind of come full circle because now we have another side of our business that is really making a significant impact on the smart cities and utilities industry. Being able to cover the full supply chain for IoT devices, from inventory to installation and maintenance, and actually perform some analytics on that data that's collected in the field when someone is installing one of these smart devices. Huge success: City of Chicago, City of Toronto, London, Glasgow, and Jamaica. The list goes on and on. So I had an extreme amount of success with that. And the GeoPDF technology and our smart cities business are extremely complementary because a lot of people don't have access to an internet connection when they're out in the field or in a disadvantaged environment, if you will. Growing adoption for both sides of the business across all geographies. We have over 2,000 customers around the world, 70 countries in all 50 states. Our primary customer base is the DoD and the intelligence community globally. So just some key capabilities here for GeoPDF and that spatial collaboration capability. Low bandwidth, we do some really great things with PDF. When it comes to optimization of the products, we also embed all of the attribute information from the GIS into the PDF. And we leverage what's called GeoPackage to do this. And I'll show you a quick demonstration of what that capability enables. We're not just delivering the pretty picture of your mapping product, but we're also embedding all of the attribute information inside of that. So it's not just a pretty picture, you also have the data And you can bring that data back into a GIS or remote sensing system. All of our products are fully attributed and layered. So it's really simple for someone to use. Works in the free Adobe Reader environment, as many of you know, with our free GeoPDF toolbar. Multiple coordinate displays is a key component and capability inside of the product. Everyone doesn't work in just longitude and latitude. So we enable MGRS display, US National Grid, and a litany, 3,275, I believe, different reference systems. So easy for coalition sharing, and especially in this type of environment where everyone's trying to work together. Like I said before, it's used in the Adobe Reader environment. So in Acrobat as well, but everyone has the Adobe Reader environment up and running on their machine. And we estimate, I think I'm going to hit this in the next slide, over 3 million installations across the DoD and the IC of that free GeoPDF toolbar for Adobe Reader. What we want to do is kind of educate people on the value of some common geospatial principles. And this lets them actually answer their own questions instead of having to go back to a geospatial analyst, a spatial engineer, or imagery analyst. They can take their own measurements directly on the product. If they need to know distances, if they need to create their own content, digitizing polygons or points or lines, and actually attributing that type of information. And again, as I said, it mitigates a lot of RFI requests. So, and that's requests for information. Every user has some basic tools. Yeah, here's that slide. We estimate over 3 million end users in the DoD and the intelligence community, and that's domestically. It is a free download. So all you have to do is go to the website, the Terrio website, and download that. We do ask for your name and email information just to make sure that we can inform you when there's another version of the product coming out. That's important on this next slide, in that we have done some enhancements, and soon to be released is a 64-bit compatible version. So Adobe is moving to a 64-bit environment. We will be releasing that inside of the next month. We're just cleaning up some details inside of that. And that's kind of the reason that we asked for the contact information. We have delivered, this is just a quick product slide. We've delivered 4 releases of our publisher for ArcGIS Pro to, again, enhance the file compression capabilities. We do map series imports now, so you can actually do a batch export of multiple tiles and multiple map sheets. And we have another product I'm not going to talk about today, but we'll be following up in a webinar here in the next month or so on what you can do with all of those individual map sheets. And that's our GeoPDF Composer product to be able to create digital atlases. Everything happens in the corner of a map. So we have a rough mosaic tool that's available as well. We do have, outside of our GIS Pro environment, we do have an extremely great business partnership with BAE Systems. So we have our technology is OEM'd inside of BAE to create 2D and 3D GeoPDF products from the socket GXP environment. That business partner relationship has been going on for well over 13 years, I believe, 13 or 14 years. So we're extremely proud of that. We're also business and technology partners with Esri. So everything that we do is in tight coordination, lockstep with Esri's releases, so to make sure that we're compatible with the latest versions of their product as well. We have released our SDK recently. That goes over to BAE Systems, but we also have some customers here domestically that leverage our SDK fully. Just the last slide here. Here's my contact information. If you do not have it, we'll make these slides available as well as the recording when we're complete here. Any questions at this point? Please feel free to use the Q&A pod again on the Zoom session. So here I am in the ArcGIS Pro environment. We are currently, I'm working on version 2.9.1 of ArcGIS Pro. And we also have it's our GeoPDF publisher for our GIS Pro, and that version I'm using is 2.5.1. And if you have any questions about compatibility, we have we can definitely provision you or provide you with any answers regarding current versions. So as you see, Esri's gone to a kind of a ribbon environment here. So everything kind of just flows across the top. And when you've installed the TerraGo plugin, you'll have a TerraGo option here. If you have a trial version and you have some problems or some issues or identify something, the first things we're going to ask you is what version of our product are you using and what version of Esri are you using. That way it'll help us narrow down or isolate any issues that you may have. Our toll-free numbers are here, and you can also reach out to support at terragotech.com at any time as well. All of our help is now online. So if you have any questions about capabilities in here, what are the system requirements, some nice to knows or frequently asked questions as well on configuring your product for output. So all of that is available online now. Here are some preferences to configure your export. You notice I have this is the Washington, D.C. area, and it's all open source data that I have here. So you notice the quality of the imagery is not fantastic, but you do have some sort of reference to the data. And I'll show you the output here in a second. But you can change your DPI. A lot of questions come up about how to optimize your file size. Again, because we have such a low bandwidth environment in many cases that people want to know how to maybe get their file size down a little bit. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today as well. First, you can obviously drop down your image resolution. You have the ability to compress your vector graphics. One of the things that we want to make sure we always do is embed the document fonts when we do the export, because everybody doesn't have all of the Esri fonts already installed. So we just embed all of the document fonts inside of the product as well. And we create one of the really valuable capabilities, creating a layered GeoPDF product. So the user has, in actuality, has multiple maps inside of one file. They don't necessarily need to see the imagery all the time initially. And that'll help with performance as well. And I'll show you how to configure some of that here in just a second. Now, those are your common preferences, but you can override those preferences in the export options here. Just a couple of things to change the image resolution. Again, we want to embed the document fonts and compress the vector graphics. This is all set up as the default, but you can change those as well. Another capability that is unique is to be able to add another PDF to your output GeoPDF product. So you can actually prepend or append another document, another PDF document to your actual GeoPDF output. A lot of times we want to add textual information, for example, if there's something significant it's identified on the map product, you can have a narrative page and maybe screenshots, or you could even PDF a spreadsheet or some other images if you wanted to, and then add those to your output product. Now here is some of the major configuration capabilities. So we have layers, attributes, and pop-ups. Pop-ups are attachments, hyperlinks, or other images. So that's a newer capability that has been added recently. In the layers panel, there was a lot of effort that went into being able to dock the technology so you have a comfortable look and feel here when you're doing the export of the product. So here you can choose which products you actually want to export. I'm going to clear these right here and show you how that's done. So I can just drag and drop each one of these things over here, and it allows me to export those individual attributes. You can also group or turn some individual visibilities on and off. So again, I talked about the imagery when you deliver that. From a performance standpoint, remember we're using the Adobe Reader environment, and it was optimized or really created to handle document type information, textual information. So we're turning it into kind of a really lightweight tool so someone can actually just do some common tasks, right? But we want to make sure that the performance works really well for the user experience. So you can turn that group visibility off. So I'm in this instance, whenever I export the PDF, export to GeoPDF, when the end user opens it up, the imagery won't be available, but if they can still turn it on after they open it up. You can also group individual layers into one. Just again, it's to provide that end user experience as much as possible to make sure that it's just intuitive. I'm going to save this and show you the pop-up or the attribute information. So the end user can choose which information they want to which attribute information they actually want to display with the PDF. So any attribute that you have turned on here in any one of your layers over here on the left, any attributes that you have turned on will be embedded inside of the PDF. Of course, you can go into the attribute table and turn those attributes off. That's another way to really optimize the file size. And what we really want to do is make sure that we get a good user experience. We understand that there are limitations in bandwidth. So that's the reason we've made these kind of capabilities available. I'm going to leave the attributes on for a few of these and then show you the pop-ups. So here, if there were pop-ups available or hyperlinks available inside of this, we would go ahead and include those pop-ups. There are no attributes or no pop-ups available inside of this. So I'm just going to leave that turned off. I ran this export a couple of times yesterday. So, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you what here's the GeoPDF that I exported of this area, and it's a little less than 3 megabytes. This is a standard PDF that was exported out of ArcGIS as well, but we're going to just talk about this GeoPDF here. So, now I performed the export. Again, it was exported yesterday afternoon, 2.79 megabytes, or yesterday morning. At the bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice the coordinate display. So I'm automatically defaulted to longitude and latitude, but I can change that information if I choose to do so. Over here, you see on the left-hand side, I do have layers, and we'll kind of work from left to right here. So I do have layers, and I can turn manhole covers on and off. I can turn the imagery on. Again, remember, I turn the initial visibility of that imagery off. And that lets the performance is a little bit better when initially opening. But I can turn information on and off here. You see that I have multiple different mapping products inside of one single file. I spoke about attribute information. We leverage the GeoPackage capability. And so again, I don't just have a pretty picture. I also have all of the data that resides inside of this product. So some initiatives in the DoD and the ICE in the intelligence community domestically are not just to deliver products anymore. They want to be able to deliver data to the end user. So we have all of the information from the GIS that we've selected, and all of that information is available here. So that is GeoPackage. And then let's just go back to the layers, and I want to show you the GeoPDF Toolbar. So many tools are available for you here. There's a geo tool. So as I move around, a lot of times I need to relay a coordinate to another individual. So I can actually just select and freeze that coordinate. And that way I don't have to worry about moving around. And I have a static display at this point. This is the White House. Again, this is Washington, D.C. So if I left click on that and freeze the coordinate, I have a couple of options if I right click. I can go in and Google map that specific location. So then that gives me, if I didn't have imagery inside of the mapping product, I can actually go in and just do a web service call. This is all done through JavaScript, file level JavaScript, and it'll render that location to me in Google Maps. So then you do have a real world reference via the imagery. Let's get back to the PDF here. So there are multiple coordinate displays. So you see by default, I'm displaying longitude and latitude. I can set a different projection if I wanted to. As this dialog box comes open, you'll see that you can create your own custom coordinate system if you would choose. And then we have predefined 3,275 predefined coordinate systems. So you can change that. If you have another coordinate system, you can import that data as well. And then this is just a history of a spatial reference. So close that guy out. So in order to access, I referenced the geo package again, remember over here. If I want to access some of this data in the geo package, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and look for information about one of these individual buildings. And let's just select the White House here. So now I have the attributes that came out of the GIS. Just a single click is all that's required. I can come in and select another building and get the details associated to that. I don't think yeah, I guess I did add all of the attributes for the manhole covers as well. So there are thousands of manhole covers in the DC area, and you can actually deliver that information if someone's going out to the field to do inspections or maintenance on any sort of features that are inside of the GIS. This is an easy way for them to identify the information associated to one of those individual features. Again, we want to give or articulate some common geospatial principles and enable those capabilities to the non-GIS person, if you will. So here they can go in and actually measure their own lengths, linear features if they choose. It's not just a point to point. You can also, it's a polyline capability. So you can get the total distance if someone is walking around this specific area. Again, everyone's not a geospatial person. So given some of these capabilities, just in the free intuitive environment, enables a lot of collaboration across discussion and lets them answer their own questions. What's the distance between here and here without having to go back and forth with the geospatial angles. You don't just measure linear features, you can also measure areas. So if I wanted to know what the area of this building actually was, if it wasn't included in the attribute information, I can just go in and digitize the area of this building. There are other capabilities. You see, I'm working in metric. If I wanted to change that and do work in just an imperial system, I have Terago preferences here, and I can go in and from a measurement capability, I can change this to feet if I wanted to. Multiple options. And again, that's under edit and preferences. And then there's a Terago preference available there. And then you see here, I'm working in feet for a parameter, for example. We also work with GPS devices. We do leverage location services on a Windows 10 laptop. So that capability is inherent to a laptop. And we leverage that fully. I'm located in Atlanta, so unfortunately I can't demonstrate that for you today. I wanted to show you another capability that is really at the root purpose for us developing this technology, and that is not just again to deliver a product, but to enable that end user to do something with that product. This is the spatial collaboration capability, and that's under the GeoMark. The GeoPDF GeoMark toolbar. And if you don't, when you install the toolbar and you don't see these icons here, if you go down to more tools, it's going to give me a different environment here. But all of the GeoPDF functions are available here. And all you have to do is select add. This is, I already have them open, but it would just much like these other tools here. You would just select add directly to the environment. And then you'll get you'll actually get the toolbar available there. So I have the GeoMark capability here. I can add text, rectangles, lines, multi-vertice lines, polygons. We actually install a lot of stamps by default. So these are just generalized stamps, but they'll be attributed automatically with an explosive activity or a bomb threat or whatever the case, whatever you may be needing to use. There are also items for infrastructure. So you can imagine in an emergency response situation, someone needs to go to the field and identify buildings that may have been destroyed or houses that may have been destroyed in the event of an earthquake or a hurricane or another civil disturbance activity or whatever the case may be. We want to be able to get this data from the field back to the geospatial analysts so that they can update the GIS and give decision makers a very simple and streamlined ability to have a common operating environment. Again, there are a couple of hundred stamps that we've included inside of this, and you can actually add your own stamps directly to this capability. And if you have questions or would like some information on how to do that, we can definitely help you out and send you some information. And what I'm going to do is just show you this collaboration capability. So I'm just going to draw a polygon here around this block in DC and just add some attribute information. Now, there's general information here, and I'm just going to name this Scott. I can add notes directly here. And then there is some other attribute information that can be automatically populated into this attribute tab. To do that, you go into edit general preferences, and that is located under the identity tab. So your end users that are using Adobe Reader or Adobe Acrobat, they can come in and input their own information directly here, and then it automatically transfers over to this attribute tab. So you get a chain of custody, if you will. So when someone does any updates, you'll have that information here. We do have a form capability where you can create your own forms for very specific data collection requirements. And then you can also add your attachments like photos or videos or audio clips, spreadsheets, PowerPoints, etc. And each one of those points, you're working on a GeoPDF. So each one of the vertices have a geographic location, and then just hit apply and OK. So that's all well and good for data collection, but how do I get that data from the field back into the GIS remote sensing system? My recommendation would be to have your end user just save the PDF and then send it back to you with the new data collection that has been done in the field. File size does get large, not large. I mean, you saw this was less than 3 megabytes. But if the bandwidth is extremely limited, there's another way to actually just scrape off all of those annotations directly off the top of the PDF. And that's done through this collaboration tool here. And I'm going to just export those GeoMarks. So here, I'm going to export those. I have a couple of options. I'm going to save this on my portable drive. I can actually save that information as a shapefile. This is just a SHM. We don't want that. This can be done if someone is geospatially savvy because they know all of the ancillary files that are associated to a shapefile. But inevitably, somebody's going to forget the PRJ file or the DBF file. So if you just need to scrape the data off the top, I just recommend going directly to KML. And your end users are probably going to be a little more familiar with KML than they would be all of the intricacies of a shapefile. And so I'm going to call this Scott and then 10 March 22. And just hit save. I do get another dialog box that comes up. Do I want to export the GeoMarks, all annotations? Is there a coordinate system that I want to be able to export to specifically? I'm just going to hit OK. And my resolution is kind of a little wonky on this screen. So I'm just going to hit OK on the export dialog and leave everything as the default. And now, under the data, you remember that, so that original file is 2.9 megabytes. If I just scrape off those annotations on top, now I have that information, that area exported directly to KML. And obviously this can be brought into Esri again, or from a common operating environment, and distributing the information to the widest possible user base. be it either the geospatial analyst, the imagery analyst, or even back to a common operating environment that's based off of Google Earth. But you see that that file is only 2 kilobytes. So again, just to make sure that we can get the data downrange, the data that's collected downrange back to the geospatial engineer or the imagery analyst. I apologize about that. That's a screen resolution issue, and I'm not able to actually show that import of the KML. What I can do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this and show you another capability, and that's the import of those GeoMarks. So now I'm going to select import, and I'm going to import that KML that I just created. So that shows you that it doesn't just go from GeoPDF directly to Geospatial Analyst. You can also share those markups from GeoPDF user to GeoPDF user. So it really is a collaboration capability. Let's see if I can open that up. I get it again. I get a dialog box. How many features? And there's just one feature, and I'm going to select OK. So now the KML file is imported directly back into the GeoPDF. Right. With that, I wanted to just quickly close out, short and brief, but if you have any questions about the capabilities, please feel free to reach out to us. Try to keep it within 30 minutes. I hope you found this insightful. Look forward to some other invitations in the next month or so, where we'll approach and discuss the composer capability, where we actually use the map series functions out of ArcGIS Pro, do a batch export, and then with all of the tools that you can do or use inside of the GeoPDF composer product. Great, with that, we're going to close out. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions, so I look forward to hearing from you, and you guys have a good day.